Life and business can be easy, but us silly humans love getting in our own way. My name is Nico Rapclis, and I've had a wild journey. From releasing traumas that I held on to for decades, to playing college athletics, working with multi-million-dollar brands, having a spiritual awakening, and now coaching incredible humans navigate their inner and outer world. The Just Grow podcast is my outlet to share and help others with life and business. After investing north of $100,000 into my personal and professional development, the Woo Plus Do formula is what has served me best. A healthy combination of mindset, energetics, consciousness, spirituality, self-healing, and discovery, matched with a high-level strategy, principles, focus, optimization, and accountability to help you be, do, and have everything that has been placed in your heart. This podcast is for the impact-driven entrepreneur that is finally ready to start thriving internally and externally. Welcome to Just Grow. Yo, what's happening, my friends? Welcome to the Just Grow podcast. So pumped to have you here. My name is Nico Rapclis. If this is the first time you're poking around these parts of the internet, welcome. This particular episode is going to be with the lovely Lesley Love with Love and Management. They help people build their businesses and their brands, all leveraging social media in a way that feels real and authentic to who you are. So we had a lot of great conversation around that, about building businesses, about building your brand, leveraging social media as it's always evolving and it's always changing, and how to stay up on all those trends, as well as keeping a high vibration and keeping a calm nervous system, which is absolutely essential to being a successful entrepreneur in today's day and age. Okay, so you're not going to want to miss a single second. A quick side note is I had quite a hoarse voice. I went to a breath workshop a couple of days prior, and I just blew my vocals out and couldn't really contribute a ton to the conversation, but Lesley carried it and it was incredible. So you're not going to want to miss a single second of this. And if you are seeing this and hearing this before tonight at 6:30, we have another podcast event. It's going to be here in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona, 6:30 here in South Scottsdale. You can go grab tickets at justgrowpodcast.com. And also, if you're looking to become a magnetic entrepreneur, one of those people that just kind of exudes that confidence and really pulls people in and repels the things that are not for them and saves a lot of time, money, and energy because of it, heading over to justgrowvisions.com. We've got a really cool video that walks you through a really powerful personal development tool that instantly can help you raise your magnetism. So again, go to justgrowvisions.com. All those links are down in the show notes and the video description. But without further ado, let's jump to this interview and conversation with Lesley Love.
Well, welcome, Lesley Love. Glad to have you here on the Just Grow podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, we've been connected for a little bit. I think it was Braxton that originally connected us.
Yeah, I think I found you through Braxton. So Braxton is a longtime friend. We've done business with him for a really long time, and I absolutely love the dude. I love what his mission is for, and I believe anybody around him is just as amazing as he is. So.
Yeah, he's a good dude for sure. He was actually our first event podcast guest. So it was really cool. He was definitely like the inception of the podcast. So he's a great dude, and anybody he's connected with likewise is like someone I definitely want to connect with. But yeah, I'm excited. We've been connected for a while, and now we're here. So why don't you take it away, share a little bit of your story? Like, how did you get into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so first of all, my name is Lesley Barnett. I go by Lesley Love. I started Lesley Love back in when I was ninth grade in high school. I decided to change my name or change my identity. I just felt like, let's kind of back up. So I was raised by a single mother. I pretty much had no childhood growing up. I had almost like a sense of no love. And that's kind of obviously how, don't get me wrong, my mom loved me, but it was when you grow up as a single child and you are that middle child, you almost get put on this pressure of responsibility at such a young age that you almost forget to be a child just because you have such a responsibility to carry this single mother. You can't complain, you can't ask for things, just do as I say, be responsible. So I grew up with a sense of almost like no love. So in high school, that's whenever I pivoted around and I was like, well, I'm going to change my name to Lesley Love because I'm not going to let how I grew up dictate the way I feel, heartless or just cold. So that's kind of how I came about the whole Lesley Love name. I just decided to have the word love. I felt like in this world that we live in, love is such a feeling that is missing in so many people's lives. So I felt integrating love into my name. Anybody would read my name, Lesley Love, it would have the sense of the word love in their subconscious mind. So that was the whole reason as to how I even got to Lesley Love.
And what
So
age was that?
say what?
What age was that?
I was in ninth grade in high school, so
Wow.
however that puts me. Yeah, so really a young age, honestly. Ninth grade, yeah, I had a hard time, honestly, in high school too. So thinking now back is it's almost so crazy to me how positive of an attitude I had, even through the hardships that I went through as young age. I mean, we grew up very, very poor. Like I mentioned, we weren't allowed to ask for anything just because we grew up with a single mother and we didn't even have money to get the things that we needed. Whenever you went to school and you got your supply list, you had to get all these kind of things. All I got was able to get was a notebook and a pencil, and that was all we could afford. So yeah, at such a young age, I learned a lot, and then I feel now as a grown up, I can understand everything that was set up for me. I used to think all those things were negative, all those things were like, why me? Like, why did I get this life? Like, why? And the constant questioning, and then as I grew up, I realized that that was such an advantage to
Mm.
myself because now as an adult, I didn't have to depend on anybody. I could suit for myself or fend for myself, excuse me,
Yeah.
without having to have like that mother pull me around and show me what to do. I almost programmed myself to have this entrepreneur mind because I grew up with the mindset of no one's ever going to tell me what to do and I'm always going to be on my own time and I'm going to figure it out on my own. So that's kind of how I dived into the entrepreneur world. So
I'm curious, like,
so what?
where did that, like, it almost seemed like a shift? Because, like, you grew up by a single mom, and then you kind of like just living this lifestyle where most people would fall into a negative mindset. And then you just like shifted and said, I want to have more love incorporated with my life and I want to, fend for myself. I want to be independent. Like, where do you think that came from?
Honestly, I think what came that from was the fact that I never got to see my mom. She worked three jobs.
Mm.
She's always breaking her back for other people. She was always, you know, making money. But at the end of the day, to me, if you're not fulfilled and have joy in your life, what is the point of going and breaking your back for this job that's paying you money? And I've always said it's like I'd rather be broke, but be fulfilled and joyful and do something that I truly love and make a difference in the world. Um, and I don't think there was ever a time where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go entrepreneur. I think it was just the way my life was built, the way my life went about. It just slowly put me in that transition of I want to do what I want to do. I want to make a difference. And I started personal training back in 2017, 2016. Um, for the same reason of wanting to help. I was just wanting to make a difference. I wanted to impact somebody's life. And if that meant by somebody walking in because they were, self-conscious or they wanted to lose weight or their health wasn't well, I wanted to be that difference for somebody else because I didn't have that growing up. I had to fend for myself. I was always I call it a lone wolf because I never had that for me and I wanted to be that thing, that person for somebody. So that's kind of how I got into personal training was for the fact of wanting to help someone and then personal training for a gym. And then I realized the whole social media transition, online training. I was like, I'm going to get ahead of this curve. I want to do online training. And I remember at the time when social media was not so popular and I was posting videos, selfies, and I remember constantly at school, people would talk about it, like, like she's posting in a sports bra. And like, I grew up in a very conservative small town. So you can
Yeah.
only imagine, like,
Yeah.
posting in a sports bra, like, that was, oh my goodness, this girl is going down the hell road. And
Yeah.
I remember just saying to myself, you know what, I'm not going to listen to anyone because no one has been there for me. So why would I listen to anyone, what they have to say? I have full control of my own life. I know what I'm doing. I'm not posting this for any other reason, but besides creating emotion, motivation, and to build my business. At the end of the day, I knew the objective of me posting on social media, and I've always said this to people. It's like, if you're on social media just to scroll, you're just kind of wasting your life, honestly, because
Yeah.
the life that we actually live, like the reality, is much more beautiful than social media, because social media can project so many negative thoughts unless you're doing intentional social media. And what I mean by intentional social media is using social media to your advantage, whether that is to connect with others, that is whether you're trying to build a business, whether that is to whatever you do with social media nowadays, is be intentional with it. Don't just have social media just to waste time and let time go past, because time is something that we're never going to get back. So that's kind of how I started the whole entrepreneur. I saw the social media curve. I wanted to jump onto the social media curve. I wanted to be ahead of that curve. And even if at the time it wasn't popular, I wanted to make it popular. I was
Yeah.
always a person that if everybody was going right, I wanted to go left. I don't want to do what everyone is doing. I want to go this way. And if you want to follow me, come on. But I'm not willing to continue to follow and be like everyone else around me. And again, I apologize if I offend anybody, but in a small town, it's the repetitive of the circle. Go to school, college, get a nursing career, you stay in the same town, have a grandkids, and it's like a constant circle. And my first language is Spanish. So my mom is Mexican. So I think having that language barrier saved me from being programmed to think in a circle. And
Wow.
the reason I say that is because I oftentimes, I mean, I can tell you so many times I failed a class because I didn't like to learn what they were teaching me. I always wanted to be in here. I
Yeah.
want to be daydreaming. And like, who knew? Like, I was manifesting back in the day before manifestation was even such a popular thing. Because I feel like nowadays it's such a popular thing. I wanted to be in school and be in my head, and the amount of things I used to think of, and now I live them. It is so wild to me. Like, the life that I live now is the life that I used to think about in school. Instead of learning, I was just in my head. So I think I saved myself from jumping in that same circle of people getting stuck in a small town. You can get stuck in such, excuse me, in such a circle, because you don't have any external feedback, and you think that this is all you want. And yeah, it's comfortable being surrounded by family. I mean, who doesn't love to be surrounded by family? So it's easy to fall into that rabbit hole of staying in the same thing, doing the same thing. And I just didn't want to do that. I was like, there's more to this. There's more than life than waking up, going to work, taking the children to school, and then doing the same thing over and over. I was like, I do not want to live that way. That's not fun. That's not fulfilled. That's not what we're meant to be here. That is just what we're programmed to do, because unfortunately life is a transactional base nowadays, and
Yeah.
without money you really can't survive, honestly, just because everything has a price. But
Well,
yeah,
there's a
I
few
mean,
things that I definitely want to dig into there because there's so much gold. I think like one thing that I'm just noticing about you is you're just like an independent thinker. You don't fall into the trends or what people are thinking. And I think there's something, let's really pull that out because I think there are so many people that really do care what other people think about them, specifically within social media. So what advice would you give to somebody that is having a challenging time posting something that they feel passionate about, they feel a vision about, but they just feel that pressure and that judgment from others?
what really changed my mindset on that was the fact that, so I'm sitting back here thinking I'm self-conscious of what Nico or anybody's saying about me. Guess what? That same person is thinking the exact same thing.
Mm.
They're being self-conscious about what that person is saying about them. We're all in our own head thinking about we're this important person that everyone is talking about. When in reality, we're all just thinking about what other people are thinking about. And that's really clicked in my head as to what I was thinking, what other people are thinking about them, then they're not really thinking about me. So why would I even waste my thought of to what they're thinking about when in reality, what matters is what's in here, what's in my soul, like what I feel. Because we all don't have the same taste. Just because I like to drink Diet Coke, somebody else doesn't like to drink. We all don't have the same taste. And if we all did, it would be kind of a boring world. And honestly, I challenge people to do what you want to do and let people talk. Because guess what? Sometimes it might seem negative for people to talk about you, but sometimes you can find things about you, about yourself. Because if somebody's talking about you and it creates some type of anger, why is it creating anger? Because now you have to ask that question within yourself. Like, why is somebody else's opinion creating some negative emotion within you? What's triggering that? It's far more deep than person's opinion. It's something within yourself that's creating that self-conscious. And for me, something that I used to be self-conscious was something so simple and so stupid. Was back in seventh grade, some girl came up to me and was like, "Oh, you think you're pretty, but you're not." And like that created a self-conscious as to, well, I'm not pretty because that girl said I wasn't. And then until I realized like, well, I might not be her type. So why would I harm myself with negative thoughts when somebody else doesn't like the way I like, This
Yeah.
we all don't like the same thing, so why would we care for other people's opinions? And then one the Four Agreements is one of my favorite books. And one of them is, don't ever take anything personal. Nothing
Yeah.
is ever personal. And the way I portray that is, if I wake up and I decide to be ugly to somebody, it's not your fault. It's probably because I woke up and there's something else triggering myself to be mean to you or be negative to somebody. So to me, it's like never taking anything personal. Reading the Four Agreements changed my life, because when I read that, I was like, that's what I've always felt. I always feel like nothing was personal. That person might just be having a bad day. And another thing that I've carried with me is nothing is ever negative. Nothing's ever negative.
Mm.
It's all in how you see it. It's all a perspective. So if you decide to walk into a room and you immediately like, oh my gosh, people are thinking about me. What are they saying? That's your perspective. That's what you're thinking that they're thinking. But if I walk in with the mindset of, I'm going to walk in, oh my gosh, everyone's staring at me. Everyone must like my outfit. Oh, everyone's like, it's all way of how you think. So if you can practice controlling your own thoughts, it's game over. You're never going to take anything personal ever again, and you're never going to care for anybody's opinions. And that's always came easy to me because I have a strong skin. Just I think the way I was raised and the way I was developed on my own self, but it might not be easier for those others. Some people are like, oh, it might be easy for you, but for me, it's just yada, yada, yada. And it's like, there you go again. That is your problem. You're making an excuse for yourself. You're putting yourself in that victim mentality. You're, you're, you're not allowing other people's experience by telling you you should not take something personal. You're being almost a hardhead, not trying. Like if people could just be more open-minded, it would make a world of difference. You would let somebody else's opinion by letting you. Yeah, I'm trying not to go too deep into
Yeah.
that
No, I hear
conversation.
you.
Go super deep, but I guess my advice to anybody that suffers or battles with other people's opinion is, think about it. It's nothing personal. We all have our own battles. We all have our own history. We have our own issues that we're dealing on our own. So if that person gives you a negative energy, guess what? The world is so big. Just pull yourself away. Don't put yourself in that position again until you are mentally strong don't put yourself in positions that are going to create those negative thoughts in your mind.
Yeah, environment is just it, you mold to your environment. That's what I always say.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that you brought up the 4 agreements. For whatever reason, that's been coming back to me recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the big ones is don't make assumptions and don't take anything personally. Because everyone is just like going through their stuff. And what they say to you really has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with themselves. One thing I also thought that I've just noticed about you is I feel like you're very clear on what you want and where you're going and what your vision is.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's been the case since you were young. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, like, how did you really figure out? I mean, you were talking about how you really want to help people. Um, but I think, through my work too, and the stuff that I do with my coaching clients, that's one of the biggest questions I'm always asking people is, what do you want and how do you want it to feel? And that's one of the hardest questions for people to answer from my perspective, from what I've seen. So, what would you say to that? Anybody having a challenging time figuring out what they want, how they want it to feel, and what their vision is? What would you say to them?
Excuse me. Spend more time with yourself. And that doesn't mean, oh, let me put a song and dance around. I'm cut out all the noise and really spend time with your soul, yourself, your true self. And it's not one of those things that you're going to sit down and try it the first time. You're going to fail just like anything else. Just like when we learn to crawl, we learn to walk. It's a constant working thing. With anything, you have to be consistent. So if you don't know what you want in life, if you don't know how you want to feel, I challenge people to spend time with yourself. And this you could do by meditating, by breath work, by closing yourself out from all the surroundings. Because I actually was talking about this in another podcast, is it's hard for you to know what you want when your environment it's telling you all kinds of different messages. And even though you might not sit back and be like, well, I'm not taking that in. Well, self-consciously we are.
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to self-consciously think about something. You're like, just like when you see an ad of a burger last week and now you're craving a burger and you wonder why you're craving this specific burger in your head. It's because you already saw it. So that's why I tell people spend time with yourself. Like genuinely spend time with yourself. Think about all the hardships you went through. Think about how they made you feel. And think about how can I use that to my leverage to build myself. And something that I've always said is I will build my empire using every brick that has been thrown at me, whether that was a person, whether it was that a negative thought, whether that was a comment, whether that was an experience. Everything can turn into a positive. And that's why I said earlier, nothing's ever negative. It's all in how you see it. So really taking the time to understand you, take care of your emotions, listen to you, and I promise you, if you work on that, if you spend time with you, you're gonna find the answers. And like I said earlier, I spent so much time in my head, not in the negative way where I'm like, oh, thinking of all the negative things, but I'm spending time in my head of what in a perfect world, what does Lesley want? In a perfect world, how do I want to live? In a perfect world, how would my world smell? How would it taste? What would it look like? Like really challenge your imagination. And I feel like because social media and because we have this now, it's so hard for people to have their own imagination because now people are imagining but are things that they already saw on a phone or on social media, computer, whatever. We have so much distractions. But as soon as you delete all the distractions, you really have to challenge yourself with your own imagination. And I think honestly, that's what really helped me understand what I want in life and how I truly wanted to feel was because I allowed to have my own imagination. So I don't know if that answers the question. I don't know if I went completely opposite, but I just say, delete all the distractions, spend time with yourself. I'm a big nature person. I grew up in the country, so I am, and I think I've talked about this before. I'm that crazy person. I will hug a tree. I have this little tree behind me. I talk to that little thing all the time. Um, Mother Nature is such a healing way to go about things. I mean, go spend time in nature. Like really sit down and listen to nature, and you would be surprised the answers you get, because the answers are all around us. Everything is a living organism. So if you really connect and really feel the vibration of life, and you really feel the stillness of life, it's going to bring a sense of calmness into your soul. And that's where the answers are at. It's within your soul. um so yeah, I think it's just, we live in a world of fast, fast, fast. We all want something fast. We all want to go here, here. And then especially if you live in the city or you live in a compact place, but we're made out of vibrations, and all this, everybody running everywhere, cars going everywhere. I mean, everyone's going from point B, everyone's frustrated. There's this negative, unbalanced energy that will continue to create anxiousness and creates anxiety, creates this uncalm environment, when naturally we need to be in a calm environment, because we are in our own vibration and we all have our own wavelength. And if you really connect with your own wavelength, you're going to know what I'm talking about. You're going to have a sense of calm. And when I say you're going to have all the answers in your soul, I promise you, you're going to understand your entire life, and you're going to understand all the negative experience you've gone through by simply connecting with your soul and letting your own soul vibrate in its own frequency.
Mm. I love that you said that. I'm a big nature guy as well. I love, usually once a month, I'll go up to Sedona.
Okay.
And it's just such a special place for me. Usually it's by myself.
Wow.
And I mean, practically the reason that this podcast even started was because I took a week-long solo trip to Utah by myself, and just was out in nature for like a week straight.
That's
It's
awesome.
like what you said, there's so many distractions out there. There's so
Mhm.
many distractions. There's so many options.
Yeah,
And if you don't take yourself out of those environments, you just get conditioned to them. So
exactly.
I love that you said that. I think nature is such a powerful tool to just get out there. It's calm, it's peaceful, it has answers out there if you just pay attention and listen.
Hmm. Just like the book, The Alchemist
Yeah.
talks about your almonds. Just pay attention, and the answers are all around you. You just have to, first of all, you have to quit doing this. The amount of times that I go places, and it's crazy to me that people are just so here, or they have these in their ears, and I'm like, do you understand you're giving up your rights to think for yourself, to have your own imagination, to have your own vibrations by plugging yourself into technology? Like that to me just really shakes me up, because I don't know if I'm old school, and I've always said I'm old soul, but I believe in having my freedom is being able to have my own opinion, and freedom is having my own thoughts and
Yeah.
having my own control. That is freedom, and that is what I want in life. And I want to be able to not have anybody controlling me. And I don't want a small little device controlling my thoughts. And honestly, like I see people all the time. I love to ground, and I'm sure you like to ground too. And I love grounding, and this is something that I see a lot of people do. It's they go grounding, but they have their phone and they're recording that they're grounding, and then they go and put it in. They go and put their phone in their pocket. But it's like then you're defeating the purpose of connecting with the ground, because as long as you have technology around you, and as long as you have that link, that wavelength, you're not going to truly be able to connect with nature. So that's something I advise, is if anybody is grounding, to not have any technology on you. Literally go old school, connect, and really connect. Don't just go put your feet and be like, oh, I'm here. No, genuinely connect, feel the vibration of the earth, connect, let it breathe through you. And I don't know, though I might sound crazy as heck right now, but I tell people if you genuinely connect with Mother Nature, you're gonna find many answers because Mother Nature is the source of life for everything. It is why we are here. It is why trees are here. It is why water is here. It's why animals are here. Anything that we eat and consume, it all comes from Mother Nature. So to me, it's like, why wouldn't you want to connect to what is giving us life? And another thing, and this might be contradicting, and I might get some hate because we live in a world that for some reason everyone hates the sun. And I tell people, sun is part of what gives us light. That is what charges us. Now, I'm not saying go lay out for 2 hours and get some skin cancer. Sure, yeah, I agree with that point. But when people immediately go outside and put their sunglasses and hat and I got to be protected from the sun, it's like, no, 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 no. Sunglasses are made, yes, to maybe whenever you're driving to make sure you're not getting a wreck, but people don't realize you're actually getting sunburned when you're wearing sunglasses because your pupils is what gives signal to your brain to protect your skin from the sun. But if you're wearing goggles or sunglasses, your pupils are not able to actually see how much light is coming in, so you're actually not protecting yourself. So, and it's good to just go out and see the light. It's so good for mental health, and I feel like people suffer from mental health because they're just locked inside. They're not willing to go take a walk. They're not willing to just go out and sit in the sun, like face the sun, recharge your aura. And yeah, I mean, those are the two things that I think if people actually worked on and really worked on, they would feel so much better and they would have all the answers that they're looking for.
I'm a big fan of the sun. I love sunrises and sunsets.
Yes.
And it's so important. I noticed that if I ever go days with just working, I mean, sometimes I get locked in and zoned in, but I do notice when I like take a step back, I'm like, wow, like I haven't been outside for a little while. It's noticeable difference. And I know like when I do go watch the sunrises and the sunsets, it's been a little chilly here in Arizona. I'm kind of a wuss now, but when I get outside and I do that consistently, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
Oh yeah, same. I've daylight coming through my windows, but I sometimes busy bee get distracted, and like you said, I'll if I'm being negative or if I'm being frustrated or I feel anxious, I'll step a step back and I'm like, man, I really probably haven't been outside for a while, and I probably need to go put my feet in the grass and just let the sun hit me because, like you said, it makes a world of difference when you do it consistently. But when you stop doing it, you really do feel it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we dive a little bit more into your business? I'd love to hear a little bit more because, you've had some transitions recently, you've had a lot of growth, and you're doing a little bit of a rebrand, and then you have a launch too. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Lesley Love Management, this is my logo. Started this a year and a few months ago, and just kind of obviously wanted to slap my name on it. And I was like, this is going to be a new venture for me. I wanted something else to give me I was needing something new, and I decided to start this new business. And I was like, oh, let's see how it goes. And surprisingly, it took off way faster than I thought. I was not prepared for the rapid growth that my business had, so I was not able to.
And tell us a little bit more specifically what it is.
Yeah, so we do social media marketing. So we do
Okay.
with like social media management, we do marketing, we do strategy, we do personal branding. We pretty much do anything marketing, branding. We do it all pretty much. And then I also do management. So that's where the whole world comes from. So management, so say if you have a personal brand, you necessarily don't need us to build your entire brand, but you just need somebody helping you manage it and create strategies to have growth within your brand or your business. That's what we do. So I want to say I did amazing at doing that, and that's what's caused the growth in my business. I say that humbly, but I am very proud.
Yeah, should be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make money for a few months. I mean, this is before I started the business because I really, really wanted to learn every single avenue. I really wanted to be everything. I know I'm self-taught. I didn't go to school for it. I don't have a degree. Everything has been 100% self-taught. And I've always been very creative. I have a very creative brain. And I think that goes back to allowing myself to have my own imagination has really helped in my business. So fast forward, I hire an assistant, I hire a few other team members, and we just continue to grow. And I was like, well, I only have a logo and I barely have a website and I don't really have a branding, but yet we do branding. So I was like, I need to take a step back, because sometimes you have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. So took a step back, got with the entire team, said, you know what, we need to rebrand. Our company needs a higher purpose. We need a purpose. We need a better messaging. We need branding. If we're going to be the elite in the industry, then we have to represent like we do. So we took a step back. We decided to rebrand. So Lesley Love Management is no longer Lesley Love Management. It is now Love and Management. And the and is going to be our symbol, our logo. It's like a really nice, pretty and. And the reason I decided to keep love in it was because any project that we do, a lot of passion and love goes into every project. And I believe in treating every project that we do as if it's one of ours with love and passion. And we really care for our clients. Our clients are not just another number. And in order to work with us, you actually have to apply. You can't just, hey, I want to hire you to build my brand. Like, you actually have to go through a screening process, and then we have to be willing to help you with that project. So that's kind of how we came about the name. And of course, love and management, and then just management. So I felt like Love and Management is going to be a huge corporation. So whenever I knew we're going to go big, that's why I decided to take my name out, Lesley Love, because Lesley Love is just my own identity. That's a completely different brand. So really just allowed myself to look back and see the bigger picture. And I knew Love and Management is going to be a massive corporation. So I needed to set the corporation now, like the foundation now, for whenever that growth happens.
Love all that. I'm curious about this because I think the whole, even just the word and the concept of a personal brand or just brand in general is like it's thrown out a lot these days. And so I think, I mean, I have my approaches and my thoughts about like, what does brand mean? But I would love to hear, like, from the expert here is like, what does brand mean to you, and what does brand mean to your guys' company, and how do you help people with their brand?
So the sense of creating a brand, the sense of building a brand, and this goes back to, again, everything that I do is all intertwined and connected to my entire journey of life. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're on social media with zero intention and you're just scrolling, at that point, you're just wasting your lifetime by scrolling and doing unintentional scrolling. So what I mean by brand is, if you're going to be on social media, you might as well leverage the technology to have the freedom of having whatever you fulfill to have. And that, whether it is, I just want to have my own name and be my branded and be an influencer and get deals, cool. Or I want to have my own brand and create a skill that I'm great at, to have the freedom of being your own boss is essentially what I'm trying to create for people. And I've mentioned this before, as my specialty is creating opportunities. And what that means is, if an individual comes to me, and this is a true story, she was a mom, a stay-at-home mom, but she was tired of being a home mom. She was tired of depending on her husband. She wanted to be her own boss, but she had no idea, like, what do I do? But I don't want to have a job, and I can't afford to have my kids to go to daycare, but I need a job and I need to make money. So that's the whole concept of, let's build your brand. What are you good at? What do you like? What is your purpose? You don't have a purpose now. Okay, let's find your purpose. This is your purpose now. Okay, now let's build your brand. This brand you can promote on social media. Why? Because social media is free. You can build a business on social media 100% for free. Create a business. Now she has her own brand, her own company, where she's able to provide a skill that she not only is she good at, but she loves to do, and it's helping somebody else. So then she has now the freedom of being a mom, staying at home and working whenever she wants to work and creating her own income, which was all of her goals when she first came to me. So to me is you come to me, you want to live the the goal, the dream, or whatever your dream is or your purpose. We turn that into a brand because again, this goes back to living in the world where everything's transactional. Unfortunately, you have to make money in order to survive. So that is the whole purpose of building a brand for someone, is giving them the opportunity to be their own soul, to be their own boss, to have their own schedule, to have the freedom of doing whatever they want, to develop a skill. So that's the whole intention behind me helping others building brands, is giving them the opportunity that I have for them.
So kind of what I heard is a couple of things is a brand is having intention, having purpose, and having a skill that you can facilitate to others and for others. Is that kind of
Yeah,
the way I heard it?
exactly. And the thing is, the dollar sign we can leave out, because at the end of the day, if you can create a skill to help somebody else, we're all, again, it's all transactional, it's all monopoly money. We're all just playing a game with money.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you develop a skill that's going to help somebody else, just like personal training, if you develop the skill and you want to do that, yeah, you're making a living off of it. But guess what? At the end of the day, you get to go home with the purpose that you help somebody else get in shape, or you gave somebody the confidence, or you give somebody the opportunity to believe within themselves. And that's another thing that with brands and the opportunities that my business creates for individuals is we give them hope, to those that still have hope to have their own reality. Because it's like, why wouldn't you want to create your own reality around what you love and your in the skill that you decide to become good at? So that's how I see brand wise, is it's creating an opportunity to have intention to be on social media, because obviously everything that we do is through social media. And to me is, stop wasting time on social media if you have no intention of doing anything with purpose. And if you're just wasting your time scrolling because you hate your normal life, it's like, I don't understand that mentality where you just want to do unintentional scrolling.
Yeah. So let me ask you this for anybody listening, and they're like kind of in this phase of they don't really like what they're doing, and they're like, I hear this building a personal brand, that sounds like the move. I'm very interested in that, but I understand that it's like having more intention, having a purpose, having a skill. What would you say to them is like a good starting point, or like even questions to ask themselves to start figuring out those answers so that they can start building their own personal brand?
I'd say the first question is, what gets you moving? Like, what gives you action? Action is something that a lot of people don't have. And that's because they don't have the purpose behind that action. So the first thing you want to ask is like, what gets me in action? What gets me out of bed? What gets me hyped? What makes me want to help somebody? Like, what gives me that, again, this goes back, what gives me that fulfillment?
Mm-hmm.
But then if you don't have that answer, then you need more time with yourself, because
Mm-hmm.
you can figure out what really fulfills you. Not just because like, oh, Lesley says personal training, so I need to go personal. No, not everything is for, just because somebody is doing it doesn't mean you're going to do it. You need to figure out what fulfills you. This could be a dog walking business. This could be a babysitting. This could be helping older people. It's just figuring out what really gets you in action. And then, am I good at it? Because you have to be good at it. You
Yeah.
can't just be like, oh, I'm good. I want to do this, but you have to good. But because you're not good at it doesn't mean you can't not get good at it. So
Right.
developing the skill. So say you have your 9 to 5, but you're thinking about having your own brand. I want to take this step. Keep your 9 to 5. Work on figuring out what gets you up and going. Continue to develop the skill. After you develop the skill, do your market research. Is this something that somebody's going to really want to pay a good price for? Is this something that people need? Do they need? Go solve a problem. it's business is all about solving problems. So am I going to be solving somebody's problem? Yes. Okay, cool. Now all the fun part comes, the branding part, like the figuring out the name, the emotion my business needs to have. Does the emotion fit the skill that I have? Does it fit the purpose? So it's like figuring out all these steps. It's all, again, intertwined. But I think the message would be just figuring out what gets you out of bed and then figuring out if that gives you fulfillment. Because you shouldn't do something just because it's paying you. If it's not giving you fulfillment, again, you're back to square zero, because now you're just doing it for the cash, and life is too short just to do it for the cash. To me, again, I'll say this again, is I'd rather be broke than have a job that gives me no fulfillment. Like, if you truly find that fulfillment, you're gonna have trouble going to sleep. You're gonna wake up excited. I can't tell you how many times I've waken up in the middle of the night because I'm like, oh, I have an idea and I just want to get back to work. It's finding that emotion, that happiness, that positive energy, and what gets your vibrations going. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, is find what really fulfills you and get good at it.
I think that right there is just the simplest way to say it, and so profound, is find what excites you and get really good at it.
Yeah. Just get really, I mean, we live in a world where people pay for the most outrageous things. So to me, I'm like, any skill you can find someone to pay you for. So just get really good at it, but don't lose sight of who you truly are just for the cash. It's my biggest deal, is don't just do it for the cash, because cash is just monopoly money and it's not going to give you any fulfillment.
Yeah, I heard something a while back, and this is something I always say to people if they're like, I don't know what I want, I don't know. And I always say it's like, it's figuring out your values too,
Mm,
because we are always operating from our values. Um,
yes.
and one question that I love is, what topic of conversation immediately turns you into an extrovert? Because anytime everyone has something where it's
Yeah.
like the topic comes up and they can't shut up about it. And it's like, find those topics, and those are the things that excite you, and you can dive into those more. And then once you really figure out what it is that you want within that, then you can just say, all right, now I'm going to get really good at it.
Exactly.
Let me
Love
ask you this question too. So I imagine that, as you are building all these personal brands and helping people really grow their presence online, and this has been something for me, and so this is even kind of a selfish question as well. But when people start having this big presence online and they start getting a lot of attention, they get a lot of comments, they get a lot of follows, they get a lot of DMs. Like, what would you advise to someone that's just getting flooded with DMs, and know that it's really important to continue to maintain those connections, and those are new leads? And sometimes I don't even look at them as like leads. They're just people that are fans of my brand, and I want to nurture them and have conversations with them, but I also don't necessarily have the capacity to do it. What would be your advice to that in terms of like getting that off your plate in a way that feels still very congruent to the brand?
That's a very great question. And the way I see DMs is, I don't see them as per se leads. I see them as a new connection, a new relationship.
Right.
Uh, Maybe I'm connecting with somebody, but we maybe not end up doing business, but maybe down the road, because of that connection, that person or connection opens a door for a different opportunity. So being overwhelmed with notifications is something that I struggle with.
Yeah.
And that I've came to find out is having a routine is so crucial to when your stuff is blowing up and you have a lot of communication to do, is having a routine, putting yourself first. So or Zen first thing in the morning. And then what I do is, as soon as I have my Zen hour and I put myself first, because I don't touch my phone first thing in the morning. I put my responsibilities, which is me, I am a priority, first. And then I have an hour to 2 hours where I sit down in this office, and that's all I do. I don't do any emails. I just do all DMs. I go through my social media platforms. First is Instagram. answer all the notifications, all the DMs. Then I go to Facebook because I do my best to reply to everyone. Now, I'm not saying I reply to every single person, but I do my best because I want to respect that person's DM because they had the time, they took the time to message me. They've taken the time to follow me. They've taken the time to want to connect with me. So I'm going to give them the respect back. And I've always gotten told, treat others how you want them to treat you. So I never want to mistreat somebody just because my Instagram is too big and I'm blowing up and I have all these DMs and I don't want to just reply to any. No, I'm going to give everybody the time of day. As long as I have it, I'm going to give you my time of day. So I always make sure in my schedule I have from 8 to 9, I have on my calendar blocked off answering DMs, emails, any communication that has came over the night. That's what I do. So, and then I don't throughout the day, if stuff comes in, I'll answer it. But most of the time, if it's nothing urgent or it's not like about, hey, I need to be part or I need this to be answered, I leave it off into the next morning because I have my hour of answering notifications, and that is my hour for answering notifications because it's so easy for people to kind of scramble everywhere. And I think I found that out easily when my business started to take off. That's how I felt. I felt like I was all over the place. I felt like I was missing DMs. I felt like even when I was answering, I didn't have a straight head, so I wasn't answering properly. So allowing myself to have that first hour to 2 hours in the day, and this can be any time during the day. This is just what works for me. That is strictly in an hour to answer DMs. I'm not scrolling through Instagram, seeing what's going on. I'm strictly on Instagram answering DMs and answering notifications. And I mean, I keep saying Instagram, but this goes across all platforms.
Sure.
So that's my biggest advice is just having a routine and then setting a specific time period to dedicate only for that.
What if the time starts going past the hour, even 2 hours? Do you feel like at some point you'll start like having someone to help you with those, or is it always going to be on your plate?
So for my personal, I like to be personal. I don't believe in having somebody answer my DMs for somebody else because at that point I'm not making a genuine connection. And that goes back to staying true to who you are with I don't allow like I have two assistants now. I don't allow them to answer any of my like actual DMs because I like to have control communicating with every single person that messages me because I like to have genuine connections. But I do know of clients where they have, you know, how on Instagram you can have a primary and general.
Yeah.
So what they've done is like all conversations that they like to have personal, they move it to general, and then they'll have their assistant just answer the primary ones. And it just comes down to training that specific person the way you would want to know for them to respond to DMs and notifications.
Right. Yeah. Played around with that a little bit. And I also have been testing out with ManyChat, and they have some features where you can put team members in there too. So I'm playing around with that. But I agree with what you're saying. That's kind of been it's kind of been like the dichotomy I have with it is because like part of me wants to get it off my plate because like I want to just, protect my energy a little bit more and then focus on more speaking, more building connections like on podcasts or just calls and whatnot. But then I think about it too, is like that's really the way I built my personal brand. That's the reason I built all these amazing connections. And honestly, like even thinking about it with us, like there's probably a chance if I had that outsourced, we probably wouldn't be here having this conversation. So it's a dichotomy to, really protecting your energy and that, but also like maintaining the connections with the right people. So I
And
think it's an interesting conversation.
you made a great point there. You know, you said that's what really got you started was like making genuine connections through your DMs. And I think we oftentimes get, and again, this probably doesn't fit somebody that has millions of followers, but we lose sight as to what really worked at the beginning and what our foundation was. And sometimes we get too far away from the actual foundation as to what really set us off. And I don't know. I guess again, this goes back to me feeling old school, but I believe in just having genuine connections because sometimes you can tell when some replies are automated and have zero emotion and zero connection, zero energy because it's you can't somebody can't portray the same energy that you're are putting through that message. And again, I'm very sensitive to energy and very sensitive to knowing things and sensing things. So maybe somebody doesn't notice it, but I notice it when I get replies back and I'm like, ah, this is not him. You know, I can tell.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like if I'm genuinely trying to make a connection with you and I get more of an automated response, that's going to push me away because then I'm like, well, I'm giving you my time and my energy, but you're not giving it back. No, like I'm not, again, treat others how you want to be treated kind of goes back to take the time to connect with those that want to connect with you, like genuinely want to connect with you.
Amen. My mom taught me that one really early is treat others the way you want to be treated. And I think it's such a life hack. Like
Yeah.
it really is. It sounds, I think some people can look at it and it sounds kind of cheesy, but like it's helped me in my life in so many ways that I don't think I would be like in the position that I'm in if I didn't take that approach to life.
Oh, I couldn't tell you how many times I've gotten away with things or have gotten treated differently from somebody else just because of the way I treated a person. So like especially servers is such a
Yeah.
great example. It's like they get treated sometimes the absolutely worst. And I'm like, they are serving you. Yeah, you might not think it's a good job, but I'm going to treat my server the best way I can because guess what? They're going to give me the best service they can. Because
Yeah.
if I treat them shit as soon as I walk in, they're like, yeah, yeah, whatever. Guess what? They're going to be like, well, this person, they're not going to treat me. But if I walk in and I'm making them feel special and they are the best server in that restaurant, they're going to make sure I have the best service in that restaurant. So it goes with anything. And if you're just kind to people and you just treat people with a heart, you would be surprised how much life would be better. Like you get perks. You get I call people you get brownie perks from being just sweet. Just be sweet and kind to people, and you would be surprised how much of how, it would be a much more smooth life for you if you actually just be kind.
Yeah. And I think like for me too, it's like, yeah, you get perks, but it's also like how many times have you had a rough day and then someone just treats you amazing and you just like your energy just shifts and you're like, damn, like my situation isn't that bad. Things aren't that bad. Like, and you just start feeling a lot better about yourself. Even like, I'll bring up Braxton again. I think he's incredible at that. We haven't spent much time together. I know he's got a lot going on just as I do, but I remember when we first were getting to know each other and we were all in the same like friend circle. And there was one day that we were at the pool and I was having a particularly challenging day. And I came into the pool and everyone was hanging out and just having a good time. And he made a point to just come up to me and be like, yo, dude, what's going on, man? You're looking awesome today. Like, great to see you. And I can't tell you like how great that felt
Mm-hmm.
and how much of a difference that made in my day and potentially my week and my month. And to think that we have that opportunity for everybody we come in contact with. Our pastor dropped this line on Sunday. He said, forget the exact quote, but it was like, behind every face, there's an unfolding emotional story. So I'm like, everyone's going through something basically. So we have no idea what everyone's going through. But what we do know is that we can treat them special and help them feel a little bit better. And you have no idea what that can do for people and how that much that can help people. And I think especially in today's day and age when mental health is at an ultimate decline, depression and anxiety is at an ultimate decline. And from what I understand too, is like suicide is at an ultimate decline too. Like
Yeah.
you literally could be saving lives just by smiling at someone and asking genuinely how their day is going.
Yeah, no, it's I see that often, and I agree with you. I've had bad days when and somebody just gives you a compliment or tells you something, or even just a smile. it can really brighten somebody's day up. So that's something that I've always been good at. Is in school was is a good example. Is always the kids that you can tell that nobody really wanted to be their friend for whatever reason, whether they thought they were weird or whatever. I was always that person that I want to be their friend because I don't want to be the reason of knowing that they're being mistreated, and I have had the option to be nice and potentially they'll commit suicide or not show up to school or drop out of school or whatever. That was always something that I am very passionate about. And this goes back to like everyone going right, I'm going left. If everybody's turning their heads away from this kid because no one's sitting with them at lunch, I want to be that weird kid that goes and sits with that kid because
Yeah.
guess what? If I can help change that kid's life by me just sitting next to them, that gives me fulfillment. And I did my role. And, you know, again, this goes back to knowing my purpose here on earth is helping others, giving others opportunity to have hope. And those that still have hope, I want to give them the opportunity and want to be a leader for them if they don't see the light. Because I feel like a lot of people give up just because they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes that tunnel is long. And some people are not as strong as others, and some people need that person to lead them with. So again, this goes back to just being kind and be willing to help with no return.
Yeah, that's it right there. It's like, we're talking about all this, and like there's definitely a lot of perks that come with being nice to people, and the things that I've accumulated, the relationships that I've built, yeah, you can just say perks that come with it. That's not the point. Like those are nice bonuses, but like for me at least, the true gift is the fulfillment and helping somebody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's yeah, I mean you nailed it right on the head. It's the fulfillment you get from it. It's whether I mean just being kind honestly just gives you a better and a better feel rather than you went about your day and didn't make a difference in the world by saying hello to somebody, giving somebody a compliment, or even simply smiling. I believe in smiling. I feel like smiling can make somebody else smile. So
Yeah.
smiles can be contagious, and smiles can save lives. Just because
Mm.
not, it's I don't know the statistics like the numbers specifically, but it's like the amount of people that actually don't smile. Can you believe like I that to me is outrageous how people can go days, weeks without smiling. And that is not good for the soul. So it's like a simple smile seems so just so you don't think much of it, but it brings so much joy to the soul. Because like you sit here and smile, like you feel happy if you smile.
Yeah.
It gives you the sense of happiness. So if you smile at somebody, you could potentially have them smile back, and you never know if that was their first smile of the first month for an entire month. Like you just never know. So yeah, I mean, I always strive to be kind and nice because you just again, you never know what the person's battling.
Smiles and hugs. I heard
Smile.
this recently. Well, it wasn't recently, but they said like, and this is wild, like to hold a baseline happiness, you need to have like 5 hugs a day,
Wow.
something like that.
5 days.
A hug. I always feel, and that's when like I'm a big hugger. So anytime I meet somebody, I'm just like give them a big hug. Sometimes people are like, "What is this?" But like usually, I don't know. I feel a lot better when I'm just like genuinely just yeah, dapping people up and
Yeah.
makes
I
a big
mean,
difference.
what's I feel like not gonna censor you out, but 2020, I'm not gonna say that word, but I think after 2020, people have gone very distant
Yeah,
when it comes to like touching, but to me it just drives me insane because without physical touch, it's nature. Like that's what we need. We need love and compassion and touch. Like that you can say zero words to hug somebody and change somebody's life because they felt that warmth, they felt that love, they felt that connection. Like we just like I'll use a dog for example. They don't have to talk for you to know that they love you because they show you that they love you. So showing is the best way to show an affection towards something or to somebody. So yeah,
Dang, Lesley, this has been an incredible conversation. I appreciate you being on. Um, I know you were mentioning some stuff about your launch of your business going down. Did you want to talk about that?
yeah. So I'm actually going to be filming a launch video after our podcast. I'll be going down to downtown Dallas to shoot the launch video, just explain as to, why we decided to relaunch, which honestly, we never really actually had an official launch with the Lesley Love management. So I'm excited. I keep saying relaunch, even though we didn't launch the first time. But I'm excited just to launch. And I don't want to say just to make it more legit, but just to feel more legit and explain to everyone why we decided to do and just open our services to anybody that wants to apply, that wants to work with us, or just to have a genuine connection with me. I do a lot of free consultations to help people figure out what path they want to go down. And I believe in giving more than receiving. So I like to give out the opportunity to sit down with individuals for about 15 minutes and help them realize what they're good at and what they could potentially turn into a business. I'm very passionate about that. I feel like sometimes I do a little bit too much of giving, but it is what it is. I'm here to help. I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to make opportunities for those that want it. Because if you truly want it, it's going to happen for you. You just really got to want it. And I think some people want it, and then there's people that really want it. So if you really want it, I would love to connect with you. So
Awesome. And that one thing I was going to ask you too, is there a specific demographic or niche or types of people that you work with, or is it just kind of all across the board?
it's honestly all across the board. My personal favorites is the personal branding, but obviously we work with corporation businesses, we work with multimillionaires down to just startup businesses. We even work with people that have no brand and want to just build a brand. So we work from point A to Z. We don't really let anybody out. Sometimes that can hurt us, obviously not having a specific target, but I don't believe in having like a specific target. I believe in giving anyone and everyone the opportunity that wants to work with us, the ability to do so. So you'll obviously have to go through a screening, because we're also not going to waste our time. Time is very valuable to me, as especially being busy. So I do have other businesses that I operate. So we have Imminent Nutrition, which is a supplement brand, and then we have I Perform, which is the sister of Imminent Nutrition, which is just a vitamin line. So very health oriented, and we have something great, exciting coming. I wish I could mention it. I wish I had it today, but I can't say anything until it's done. But something I've always wanted to do, and everyone sees me drinking all the time. It's finally going to be a dream of mine. So it's going to be a passion project, and I wish I could announce it in this podcast, but just the process wasn't fast enough, so I wasn't able to release the news. But something's awesome's coming.
That's
And I'm
exciting.
excited.
I can feel your passion behind it. So excited to see it whenever it does come out.
Yeah.
What's the best place to connect with you?
Instagram at Lesley Love Fit, or through Facebook, Lesley Love, or our new website will be loveandmanagement.com. Our contact information is going to be there. Or if you want to send me a text at 903-767-3417.
Oh, wow. Giving out the digits too, huh?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm all for making opportunities happen. So I love connecting with individuals. And again, I appreciate you, Nico, for connecting with me. I really appreciate it. And I feel your energy even all the way from Arizona. So
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Likewise, I really enjoyed this conversation, and I didn't realize you're as into like the nature and the spiritual side of things. So that was really cool to hear that side of you as well. So yeah, thanks for
I
being on. I love having these conversations.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You made it very easy to talk about these things. I should be talking about these things more often on my social media. That's something that I've got a request on since the day that I talked about my tree. And yeah, I need to just be more open about that. It's just, I cherish that a lot. I cherish that side of me a lot, and I protect that a lot. And that's why I haven't made it a business. Um, I have my businesses already, but that part of me I cherish and I keep it private because I believe in showing things out on social media, but also having a part of my life private, because I cherish it very much. So
Mm. Yeah, it's all about finding that balance that works the best for that
yeah,
person.
for sure.
Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for being on. And any last words?
No, I mean, just make sure you smile next time you see somebody.
Yeah, love that. Cool. Well, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.